a poem titled Ozymandias by a very famous poet, romantic poet, Percy Bysshe Shelley. This poem, Ozymandias, is a sonnet. I hope everybody knows what sonnet is all about. A sonnet is a poem which comprises 14 lines. This poem was published on 11th January 1818 in the Examiner. The Examiner was a weekly paper founded by Leigh and John Hunt. It was founded in 1808. So after 10 years, this poem was published. It's believed that Shelley started writing this poem in 1870, and after a few months it got published. To talk about Shelley, to talk about the works of Shelley, Shelley wrote Ode to the West Wind, Ode to Skylark, and The Necessity of Atheism, and The Mask of Anarchy, Prometheus Unbound, and the very famous Adonai. Alright, so let's discuss this poem, Ozymandias. The poem begins like this. I met a traveler from an antique land. So I refers to the poet Shelley. Shelley met a traveler. Usually when we meet travelers, we would ask about the place, the weather, and the king, and then the time difference. All right, we discuss all these things and we pose a lot of questions. Here Shelley asked some questions to the traveler, but even before that, the traveler started to talk about the antique land, which is Egypt. Then the traveler said he saw something. He saw something amazing. He saw a statue. And how was the statue? Two vast, big, and trunkless, bodiless legs of stone. So he saw two legs of stone. So there was a stone, but then no body. So the body was looking for torso. All right, it was too big, but then no body. Stand in the desert. So where did the traveler see that statue? On the desert. Near them, near the shattered statue, he saw something on the sand, half sunk. So the face half sunk, a shattered visage. Visage is face. The face was half sunk. The face, how was the face? The face was contemptuous. The face was frowning face and wrinkled lip. The lip was wrinkled. And sneer. Again, what do you mean by sneer? A contemptuous smile, like that, of cold command. Usually the word cold is used in the negative context in foreign countries. So the man, maybe I can call him a gentleman, the king Ramesses II, Ozymandias. Who was Ozymandias? The king Ramesses II was Ozymandias. He had wrinkled lip and a frowning face, the cold command. Tell that its sculptor well those passions read. This is how Shelley had written, but in order to understand, I'm just rephrasing it, or I'm just jumbling the words. The sculptor read those passions well. Since the sculptor understood the emotions, he was able to reflect it really well on the statue. The sculptor was able to read the passions well. That's why he was able to carve it really well, which yet survive. So he would have carved it long back, but even today, the traveler said, even today, I am able to see the emotions on the face, as though the statue was looking like real, as though it was living. All right, stamped on these lifeless things. What was the lifeless thing here? The statue. But then the sculptor stamped all the emotions on the face. Okay, stamped, carved. We say engraved, right? The hand that marked them, marked here, the hand did not ridicule the the king. The hand that carved all, the body parts and the facial expressions and parts, the heart that fed. So in Tamil, I have explained it clearly. Whatever we consume, it comes out. All right. So if you consumed good items, it will come out as good items, right? Whatever we consume, it will either come out as a vomit or we will defecate. That's what I told you in the Tamil video here. So the gentleman, the Ramesses II, Ozymandias, consumed insolence, arrogance, right? So he brought it out, and the same thing was clearly brought out by, picturized by the sculptor. And on the pedestal, now we've come to the important point. On the pedestal, so there was the statue, and then the legs were there, but then the body was missing and the face was missing. The face was elsewhere and the face was half sunk, right? We discussed that. On the pedestal, these words appear. So here pedestal is a stone, maybe here the statue was there, and then the pedestal, the stone which was erected down, it was written. What was it written? My name is Ozymandias, King of Kings. So he called himself the King of Kings. Maybe he would have asked the sculptor to engrave it on the pedestal. Look on my works. Look at the accomplishments. Look at the achievements that I have made. You mighty, he called the other kings. Hey, you mighty. And Despaya. All the mighty kings, if all the mighty kings happen to see my achievements, my accolades, my accomplishments, they will all lose their hope. They'll be in Despaya. These two sentences were written on the pedestal. But now the traveler says, nothing beside remains. I couldn't see anything. I was able to read those lines, but I was not able to see any words. I was not able to see any achievement of Ozymandias. Round the decay of that colossal wreck, everything was decayed. I was able to see around, everything was decayed, and colossal wreck. Colossal is referring to the enormous size of the original statue, and everything, the size was enormous and the wreck was also enormous, and boundless and bare. Boundless is boundaryless. Bare, the lone and level sand stretched far away. The statue was lone. Maybe when he was a king, He would have always walked with hundreds of people. But now the statue was lying in the desert all alone. Nobody was there to look after the statue. Nobody was there to preserve the statue. And the phrase boundless and bare describes the vast and empty desert surrounding Ozymandias' ruined statue, emphasizing nature's limitless expanse and desolation. The lone and level sand stretched far away underscores the isolated, flat wasteland, symbolizing time's eraser of human grandeur. We may be great, but when death comes, we have to keep mum and oblige. As John Dryden has beautifully put it in McFlecknoe, all human things are subject to decay. When fate summons, monarchs must obey. Even the great rulers who lived with hubris should obey, right? So, this poem talks about the impermanence of power, impermanence of life. All right, this is one of my favorite poems. Thank you so much for listening to me. If you want to know more about this poem, I've actually uploaded one video in Tamil as well. Kindly watch that. Thank you.